Hey there. So we're going to start a study on First Peter. And so I'm going to start posting some thoughts, some little devotions, studies, some video studies, I guess, of First Peter. And then would love to have you join us on Wednesdays at 7 o'clock on Zoom. And we can make that link will be available in the details of this video if you would like to join us for Zoom and further discuss these passages. That would be awesome. We'd love to have you. Also, there's a link in the details of this video to a Bible Project's introduction to First Peter. It's a really great video. I would love it if you would check that out. I think it would be really helpful and informative and gives a great overview of the book. But today, I wanted to cover 1 Peter chapter 1, verses 1 through 12. And I'm only going to take a few minutes and share a couple of highlights. There's so much in these passages, and that's really why I would love for you to join us on Zoom, and we'll just really get into it a little bit more, and it's always fun to hear what other people have to say about it. But in 1 Peter chapter 1, in the very first verse, it says, "Peter, an apostle of Jesus Christ, to those who reside as aliens, scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia, who are chosen, according to the foreknowledge of God the Father, by the sanctifying work of the Spirit, to obey Jesus Christ and be sprinkled with his blood. May grace and peace be yours in the fullest measure." Now, the first word that jumps out to me in this passage is the word aliens. Some of your Bible translations might use the word strangers. And I want to point out that this idea carries a lot of weight throughout the whole letter that Peter is writing. Peter isn't saying that they are foreigners in a foreign land. What Peter is more likely pointing out to them is that they are strangers or aliens within their own land, that they are living in their own land but aren't really accepted as a part or citizens of their land because of their relationship with Jesus Christ. Okay, so they are feeling strange and out of place in the very place that they've always lived and they've always grown up. Maybe you feel like that today, right? Maybe you are in the same place you've always been, but for some reason you feel like a stranger there. You feel like you're an alien there. Maybe it's changed a whole bunch in your lifetime and you just feel out of place. That's how these folks were feeling. And I feel that Peter is writing this letter to these strangers or these aliens in a way to help them figure out how to live in a kind of a strange place or a hostile place, but still live there in a Christ-like way. So it's a really relevant book to where we are at in our own world today. So in this opening verse, he's writing to these aliens, these strangers, and he says that they have been chosen according to the foreknowledge of God. Now, we could get into a long discussion about predestination and God's foreknowledge, but I kind of wonder if it isn't just a little bit easier or simpler than that, okay? In these opening verses and in these opening 12 verses, Peter is being very encouraging to the people that he's writing to, right? He's telling them and reminding them, hey, you have been saved by Christ. You have been chosen by the Father. You have a hope that's beyond this world and beyond being a citizen in your hometown. Right? I mean, listen to what he's telling them. He's saying, hey, remember that you have a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Remember that you have an inheritance that is imperishable. Nothing can touch the inheritance that God has promised you. It will not fade away. It's reserved in heaven for you. It's being protected by the power of God. You have a joy that's inexpressible and full of glory. You have the salvation of your souls to look forward to. He's being very encouraging, very uplifting when he gets into the rest of his letter. And so I think the statement at the beginning to these aliens that they are chosen according to the foreknowledge of God was meant to be more of an encouragement rather than a deep theological teaching, right? He's saying you are strangers in this place. You're strangers, your family maybe, your neighbors, they don't want anything to do with you. They're not accepting you, but know that God does. Know that you have been picked. You have been chosen by God. I think of all the times in school where you are waiting to be chosen for the right team. Well, God is saying, while nobody else might be picking you, know that the God of heaven has picked you, the God who has saved you and has given you this hope and this imperishable inheritance. He's the one that saved you. He's the one that has chosen you. And so I think that's something that we can take away from this passage, is that that's the same thing for us today, that we have a hope, and that hope rests in the reality that we've been chosen by God. You have been chosen by God today. And then just go through this passage. I encourage you, take some time, underline all the promises and all the encouraging and hopeful words that Peter gives to these hearers in these opening verses. It's a great, great chapter. And so hopefully you can join us on Zoom on some Wednesday evening as we talk a little bit more about it. But that's it for today. Hopefully you can take a minute and read through 1 Peter chapter 1, verses 1 through 12. God bless you all. Have a good one.